Hello, it's me, French Ted, and we are here for episode number 17, I want to say. I might be completely wrong. I've completely forgotten what episode this is. Either way, we're here. You'll see it in the thumbnail. You'll see it in the title. We are here for AEW Dynamite. As announced, Battle of the Belts is happening in week 3. So next episode, we will be getting Battle of the Belts. So be sure that there will be some more match announcements. MJF has a number 1 contenders match to this episode. This episode, where we find out who'll be facing him at Battle of the Belts. Can't remember what else has been confirmed, if I'm being completely honest. So we'll recap that as and when. But let's get straight into this episode. We got a bunch of doozies happening today. But first, as always, backstage incidents. And it's Brody King passing on tips to Julia, who leaves on maternity very, very soon. But as said previously, she will not be in any in-ring action because we don't want to harm the little baby. So there's that. We are in the Great Lakes area where our popularity now is 70. I actually did have a look. I can't show you in this screen, but I will show you in between Dynamite and Collision. But we are now bigger in America than WWE. We are not bigger in the world than WWE because they are averaging like 60 plus everywhere, whereas we are we can just look here. We are 70, 65. Mexico are in the 40s. I think WWE are in the 60s. Again, we're in the 50s, 60s here. They're mid 60s. Japan were around 40, 50s. They're, I think, 60s again. Again, they're 60s. So we need to get this stuff up across the board. Whereas here, we're killing it. So, yeah, boy. It's not going to be long before we are the number 1 company in the world. And that is goal number 1 ticked off. Goal number 2, I think, would be getting too big. And then if we're still playing this series, goal number 3 will be whatever's after this. I think it's called Titanic or something, which is probably impossible, but who knows. Anyways, chatting too much, as always. I mean, it wouldn't be a French episode if I'm not waffling about some bollocks. But anyways, Great Lakes area. We are at the... Okay, we're at the Bank of Springfield Center. Yeah, AEW Dynamite. Let's go. Okay, here we go. And we have some slightly sad news. It's not the end of the world. It's just more of a precaution than anything else. Konosuke Takeshita is injured. He has a fractured tailbone. However, he is only out for 22 days, something like that. And if I'm correct, I think the ruling in AEW, or the ruling in general in most wrestling promotions, is if you're unable to defend your belt within 30 to 60 days, you have to relinquish the belt. But seeing as Takeshita is just 22 days, we'll let him keep it because he hasn't really had a fair crack at defending it too much, or had any kind of limelight with it. So Dasher is just announcing that Takeshita will be unable to compete at Battle of the Belts. However, in place of this will be a number 1 contenders battle royale, and the winner of that match will face Takeshita upon his return on Dynamite. So something to look forward to, and a fun little battle royale because we love a battle royale. But yeah, that's the opening segment. That's just an online thing. Moving on to the opening pre-show match, which is a decent wrestling match, but didn't have much heat. Deonna Purrazzo and Trish Adora, an interesting team here, defeat Riho and Yuka Sakazaki in 10 minutes when Purrazzo makes Sakazaki submit. Looking at these scores, Trish with a 46, not the best, but it's kind of hard when you've got some great talent in the ring like these guys, girls, same thing. Purrazzo's getting better of her gimmick. Trish Adora's got some public support, and Riho and Yuka are pretty good anyway. 59 segment, nice. Following this, we've got a debut in our pre-show, so not a televised debut yet, and it is Cedric Alexander. Yep. For some reason, WWE didn't want him, so we snapped him up for a pretty penny. And in a decent pre-show match, Cedric Alexander defeated Jungle Boy Jack Perry, with the lumbar check. And Cedric got a 53, Jack with 57. Adequate, the best in the ring gimmick. So has a cocky gimmick in Dynamite, saying that he is the best in the ring. And they don't seem to click at all, which kind of sucks. So a kind of underwhelming debut match. But Cedric's here. He's here to play. He's here to win. He's here to do his thing. And I believe that is the final pre-show segment. It is. We head straight into the main show, and who else is it but MJF? He comes back to Dynamite after being on Collision last week and saying, I turned up to Collision and I ended up with a title match at Battle of the Belts and 2 number 1 contenders, you could call. And just going off of what I was saying last week about the competition being poor and me being untouchable, still remains. I mean, let's take a look. My competition is 1, a ginger hobo, and 2, an emo that I've beaten many times before. So I don't see much competition here. Bring them on. It doesn't matter who wins. I'm going to beat them. MJF super cocky, and the crowd kind of, maybe agreeing with him, but also we haven't seen Remy Sabai in action in AEW. He could be a baller, because we know that in his previous company, which we won't mention, he was also very, very good. Following this, though, Tony Khan comes out and says, sorry to ruin your party again, MJF. But they're not the only number 1 contenders. Remember, you are the world champion, and being the world champion, you can face people on either Dynamite or Collision. The number 1 contenders match this Saturday at Collision is Darby Allin and Remy Sabai. The winner of that will face you at Battle of the Belts. But tonight, we have 2 semi-final number 1 contender matches, and the winner of those 2 will face each other next week for a chance to face you also at Battle of the Belts. And MJF is like, huh? So I'm going to have 2 matches? What kind of ridiculous stuff is this, Tony? And Tony's like, no, I think you're a little bit confused here, MJF. What I'm saying is that it will be a 3-way. It will be you against your Collision number 1 contender and your Dynamite number 1 contender. And then Tony kind of gestures to the big screen where we see the 2 matches announced. The first is Ray Phoenix versus Bryan Danielson, and the second is Jon Moxley facing off against Adam Page. So the winner of those 2 matches will face each other next week in the main event, and the winner of that match will join the MJF Collision number 1 contender match at Battle of the Belts, making it a 3-way match. Very exciting. MJF is fuming. He's like, you keep throwing stuff at me, but then at the same time he's like, you know what, easy, let's do it, because he kind of scoffs. Like Ray Phoenix, like, he doesn't belong in the title scene. Bryan Danielson, done that. Jon Moxley, done that. Adam Page, done that. So I don't think he's too worried, but triple threat 3-way matches are difficult because MJF doesn't need to be involved for him to lose the belt, so he has to be wary of that. Following this is the first semi-final match, and it is Ray Phoenix taking on Bryan Danielson. 80 rated, whoa. So in a bout that had superb wrestling and great heat, Ray Phoenix defeats Bryan Danielson with the Meteora. This is largely in part due to the interference and attack from Jon Moxley. He's just out to ruin Bryan Danielson's life. Jon Moxley coming in and kind of sabotaging Bryan Danielson's possible chances at having a world title shot again. So Ray Phoenix advances to the finals of the number 1 contendership match. Ray Phoenix with an 82, which is quite low from what we've seen. He's clearly a tag team guy. Bryan Danielson with an 89. Oh, what a guy. And the Combat Club storyline continues, and he's got a hot new move, and the crowd obviously is hotter after a star-studded match like this. Ray Phoenix is in the final for next week. Following this, we've got some tag team action. We've got Miro and Alex Coughlin taking on the Butcher and the Blade. I believe this is a rematch from a few weeks ago. And once again, Miro and Coughlin come out on top. They seem to be powerhouses and I can't say powerhouses, that's Hobbs' thing. They seem to be the big bad bruisers of the tag division in Dynamite at the moment, just throwing their weight about, taking everyone out. And Coughlin is slowly getting better. Mans was floating around the 30s, now he's floating around the 40s. Lovely. And again, CJ Perry doing crazy work at ringside. The Bunny also doing crazy work at ringside. Butcher and the Blade are great talents that I wish had better stats in the game, but what are you going to do? 62, very happy with that. Let's move on. After this, we've got a little promo between Sammy Guevara and Tay Mello, where they kind of talk trash on Chris Jericho and just say, you know, we always felt like a number in the Jericho Appreciation Society. And Sammy was like, I'll admit there was one moment, there was a time when I thought that Jericho genuinely cared about me and he was teaching me things that I honestly couldn't have learned anywhere else. But yeah, I've got no respect for the guy. He just kind of tossed us all aside, and it seems like he's building his own thing again. And as he's chatting away all of this, Chris Jericho kind of turns up behind him and just calls him an ungrateful little shit and says, like, you know, you don't deserve my respect, you don't deserve anything. And he's like, how about we settle this in the ring? And Sammy's like, I'm not even in my ring gear. And then Tay Mello steps forward and she goes, I am. And then Chris goes, okay, I'll meet you out there. And as he says that, Paige Van Zandt just walks into view, crosses her arms, cracks her knuckles, and Tay Mello's like, oh, okay, I guess I'm facing her. So the next segment is Tay Mello, Paige Van Zandt. Who's your money on, guys? 84 segment 2. Nice. And of course, it's Paige Van Zandt. So in about that had a decent reaction from the crowd, but subpar wrestling. Paige Van Zandt gets the win over Tay Mello by pinfall. So Paige Van Zandt with a 37, not good. Tay Mello with a 48, a little bit better. And obviously Chris Jericho was at ringside shouting and doing whatever. And post-match he celebrates with Paige because she's a beast and they are just friends. Remember, not a faction, not a stable, just friends. 46, you know, it happens. Let's move on, and move on we do to Christian Cage announcing the next round of his FTW World Title Challenge. As we confirmed last week, he had made this title an officially recognized belt within AEW. So there are rules that you must follow. The rules being, let me just recap it. You must defeat Luchasaurus, and once you have defeated Luchasaurus, you are entitled to a title match against Christian. Simple as that. There's not much, terms and conditions to it. It's basically that. So Christian Cage opens it up and just says, let's see who steps up this week. And it's Matt Cross, who is a local talent. You might know him from Lucha Underground, where he plays Son of Havoc, and also Ring of Honor, plenty of other places. He gets about, I believe these two have had many matches in the past as well. So it's kind of annoying that it's only got 54, but I wasn't expecting much from Matt Cross. He's a great talent, don't get me wrong, but he is here to basically be fodder. So in a poor match, Luchasaurus, again, defeats Matt Cross in 7:13 with the betrayal. Christian heads into the ring, celebrates with Luchasaurus again when we hear some very familiar music that we once heard at Forbidden Door. And it is Jeff Cobb. Jeff Cobb has debuted for AEW television. He is here and he confirms that he is having a match with Christian at Battle of the Belts. And Christian just kind of cheekily laughs it off and says, Jeff, I don't think you understand the rules. You have to beat Luchasaurus and then you get to face me. You found that out the hard way at Forbidden Door. And then Jeff kind of just says, oh, Christian, you're not very good at writing contracts, are you? The contract states the individual has to defeat Luchasaurus in order to have a title match against you. If you remember at Forbidden Door, I defeated Luchasaurus. Your contract does not state anywhere that you have to then defeat Luchasaurus again, or there's no time frame and there's no how many title challenges you can have. So it's going to be me and you at Battle of the Belts. And then he kind of just laughs. Christian's like losing his shit. He just goes, loophole, bitch, and then drops the mic. And yeah, the crowd are loving it. Jeff Cobb finding a very interesting loophole. Christian really should have had that maybe looked at by a legal team. So it will be Jeff Cobb facing Christian in, you could say, a rematch for the FTW World title. Damn, that's going to be one hell of a match. We do love a bit of Jeff Cobb. I mean, I do. I don't know about you guys. 71 rated segment. Pretty good. Following this, though, we have some tag team action in the women's division. It is the AEW Women's World Champion, Hikaru Shida, and her partner, Britt Baker, facing off against Steph DeLanda and Santana Garrett. So in about had a decent reaction from the crowd, but subpar wrestling, mostly because of the other team. Britt Baker and Hikaru Shida defeat Steph DeLanda and Santana Garrett when Britt Baker makes Steph DeLanda submit. So Hikaru Shida with a 60, Britt Baker with a 58, and the other two around the 30s. Yeah, you know, someone's got to lose, and usually it's these, you know, dum-dums with the bad stats. Britt Baker, Hikaru Shida just kind of asserting their dominance in the women's division, you know, throwing their weight about. Yeah, it's kind of impossible to think that anyone's going to beat them realistically. But speaking of beating them, Jamie Hayter makes her return, and she brings a chair with her, and she just leathers the hell out of Britt and Hikaru Shida, taking down Hikaru first, and Britt tried to dodge it, but she couldn't. She took a chair straight to the back, and Hayter just stands over them, waving the chair, as Baker and Shida make their escape. So yeah, Jamie Hayter's back, and even though she doesn't have anyone on her side, she's not backing down, because she is one hell of a woman. So yeah, very interesting. This is definitely getting pretty heated, if I must say myself. Following this, though, we have the House of Black cut a promo just saying the trios division is stale. The trios division, there's no challenge, there's nothing. We are unbeatable. Who can beat us? So they are now issuing an open challenge at Battle of the Belts. They will be there in the middle of the ring, and they will await whoever wants to step up and face them for their trios belt. Very interesting. So I wonder who is going to step up. Remember, if these guys do lose their trios belt, they are technically no longer a trio, because Mr. Buddy Matthews over here is technically on Collision when all of this is done. But yeah, have a little think, guys. Who do you think could step up? We've got quite a few factions, groups, and trios, and we've got quite a few people that are just good friends in general. So yeah, could be anyone and anything. But this is our final segment before our main event. Hangman Adam Page facing Jon Moxley. Who's your money on? Let me know. Let's go. 81. Whoa, even better than earlier today. So in a superb match, Jon Moxley loses against Adam Page. Adam Page defeats him with the buckshot lariat, and it looks like they have great chemistry. Yes, love to see that. There was meant to be an interference from Mr. Bryan Danielson, but it doesn't seem to have been saved. Let's pretend that happened, you know, just ignore what's on the screen. Obviously, Adam Page gets the win. Beautiful. You know, he could have beaten him clean anyway, but Bryan Danielson exacts his revenge and, you know, knocks down Jon Moxley a few times, distracts the referee, you know, plays devil's advocate, and Adam Page gets the win, and Jon Moxley is just on the floor, seething with anger, and Bryan Danielson is just at the top of the ramp, you know, just shrugging, being like, you know, you did it to me, I did it to you. See ya. And makes a run for it before Moxley can get up and chase him down. But yeah, that's that. Let's move on to the next segment, because I've got no idea what this is. Oh, and it's just the announcers putting over that we will see Hangman Adam Page face Rey Fenix in the finals. The winner facing MJF and the Collision #1 contender at Battle of the Belts. So let's see how we did this evening. Yeah, no, we haven't got pre-booking. 83, nice. I mean, that definitely helped with our opening match, our closing match, and MJF, and even the Chris Jericho segment was great with Sammy Guevara. Yeah, great show. Jeff Cobb being a slimy little boy, finding a loophole in Christian's FUW World Title contract. Hayter's back. Open challenge at Battle of the Belts as well, and yeah, Adam Page, Ray Fenix, deservedly so. I would say they're both amazing talents. But would they be there if it wasn't for the heat between Bryan and Jon Moxley? Who knows? We'll have to wait another week to see how that unfolds. But yeah, that is Dynamite. Let's just jump straight into Collision. Okay, and in a very rare occurrence, we just head straight into the show because there were no backstage incidents. There's no reason for me to talk about the venue we're in. So yeah, here we are. I did just realise though that we said that we might look at WWE's Pop. I did look at it. I didn't record it because I thought it's kind of a waste of time. Basically, WWE average around 63 to 67 Pop across the world. That includes India, Oceania, Europe, everywhere. Whereas, as you saw with ours kind of fluctuates across the board. So I think for us to be number one in the world, we're going to need to start upping our Pop in other places. So when our current TV deals expire, we might need to see if we can get better deals in those regions. But until then, we're just going to keep grinding, and hopefully we'll become number one. So fingers crossed. But anyways, we've looked at Juice and Cesar for way too long. Here's our first pre-show match. Juice Robinson defeats Cesar Bononi with the Pulp Friction. 43, meh. I wish that Juice had better stats in this game, but what are you going to do? Moving on, we've got some tag team action between 2.0 and the Kingdom, and 2.0 defeat the Kingdom in 13:02 when Matt Menard makes Mike Bennett tap. Lots of green, we love to see that. Everyone in the high 50s, and Angelo Parker with the 61, 58 overall. Lovely. And I think there's one more pre-show match. Yes, Adam Cole's in the pre-show, baby. So I don't know why I even put this match in, to be honest. Didn't need to be here, but Adam Cole gets a win over Chuck Taylor in 9 minutes with the Boom. 59 rated. Adam Cole is kind of like falling down the card for me. I've kind of struggled with him since day one, and yeah, it's not long before I just completely give up on him, if I'm being honest. Either way though, I believe that's the final match. Let's head straight into the main show. And we open with the AEW International title match that was announced last week, I believe. Jay White, Trent Beretta, and in 13 minutes 50, Jay White defeats Trent Beretta clean with the Blade Runner. 70 rated match. Pretty good, to be fair, given the fact that, Trent's not the best on his own, even though I love Trent. Jay White, I think, carried this match a little bit. But yeah, great win. Great match as well, and a great start to the show. Well done, Jay. That is defense number 1 of his AEW International title since winning it from best friend to Trent and Chuck, Orange Cassidy, who we haven't seen since. So hope he's okay. Following this, though, we have a quick interview segment just before her match. It's Chris Statlander. And Chris Statlander says that the reason she's not giving Jade Cargill her rematch is because Jade Cargill just isn't that good. She got herself over by facing mediocre talent or hiring local talent, and she just isn't really a threat in the ring. Nyla Rose, on the other hand, is a threat in the ring, and I would be more than happy to give Nyla Rose a shot at the belt. So Chris kind of calling out Cargill as a bit of a fraud and saying that maybe her muscle, Nyla Rose, is more deserving of a title shot. And if I'm being honest, I agree. So we'll have to see what happens there, how Jade reacts. But Chris Statlander is now heading to the ring in a non-title match against Willow Nightingale. And in a decent match, Chris Statlander defeats Willow Nightingale in 11:48 with the Area 451. Chris with a 56 and Willow with a 50. Not bad. 56 overall. We'll take it. We go straight back to the ring, or we stay in the ring, to be honest, with some tag team action, and it is the Guns getting a win over Lee Moriarty and Big Bill when Colton Gunn he does defeat, but pins Lee Moriarty. And Lee Moriarty carried the match in terms of ring performance. Oh, go on, Lee. To be fair, he carried it with a 59, so the rest of these guys were really, really doggy. Stokely Hathaway managing the Guns did some good work. Yeah, we'll take that, I guess. Oh, does he manage them? No, he manages these guys, the Firm. Yeah, what am I on about? Ignore me. 54, it's fine. Not the best previous few segments. Let's hope the show picks up a little bit. We do head backstage with our boy Tony, where he just interviews Samantha DeMartin and just kind of talks about her debut last week and her big win and how she feels being in AEW. And she says that she's really excited to be in AEW. She's got eyes for the belt, but she knows that she has to earn it. But she's not worried because she's Samantha DeMartin and she can take on anyone who's in her way. And then she kind of gives Tony a little wink and walks off. So a nice little segment just introducing DeMartin to the crowd. For those that may not be familiar with her, former NXT and former WWE superstar, we could say, because she did get a quick old call up, but we snatched her away just as quick. Following this, though, we stay backstage, I believe, where Sting has finally got hold of Darby Allin. He tries to talk to Darby, says like, hey man, I hope you're doing better. Haven't been returning my calls. I just want to apologize. Yeah, you know, can we talk? And Darby just kind of stares him down and walks away. Doesn't say a single word to him, just goes straight through Sting. So Darby is either really pissed off with Sting, or he just is really focused on the main event tonight. So we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, following this though, sorry, I kind of lost track of where I was. Following this is a tag team match, and it's two members of the New Wave, Ricky Starks and Shane Strickland. They defeat the Iron Savages when Ricky Starks pins Boulder with the Rochambeau. Strickland leading the performance again. Ricky Starks, man, get better. Come on. I mean, you're great in real life. What's happening? 57 match. Ugh, this show's just a bit of a drag at the moment. Hopefully, the main event is tasty between Darby Allin and Remy Sabai. Following this, though, Kenny Omega still hasn't forgotten or forgiven Ricky Starks for his attack, and he comes out and calls out Ricky. Says, "Ricky, me and you one-on-one has to happen." And just as Ricky's about to respond, Mercedes Moné and Daniel Garcia of the New Wave come out, and they kind of just say, whoa, 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 Kenny, like, you're not the boss around here. You can't make matches. Ain't gonna happen. All right, we're focusing on ourselves. We don't like you guys, so why do we even want to entertain anything that you want? You know, stay in your lane, buddy. And they kind of just walk off. So yeah, 65 segment, not bad to be fair. Kenny's usually terrible on the mic, so it helped that we had Ricky, Mercedes Moné and Daniel Garcia around to help him out a little bit, because the stats are normally a little bit doggy. But we head backstage where we've caught up with CM Punk after the kind of weird situation we found him in last week with Jordan Omos standing over him. It turns out that continues. CM Punk is talking to Renee backstage, and mid-conversation, Jordan Omos just kind of appears behind Punk again, just kind of looking down on him, and CM Punk just looks at Omos and is like, like, Renee, I've got no idea why he's following me. I've tried talking to him, I've tried running away from him, like, the guy just won't leave me alone. And he just turns to Omos again and he's like, what do you want? Like, what is this? And Omos kind of just like smiles at Punk, and yeah, that segment ends. Very weird. Omos just following Punk around, like, is he a fan? Like, what is this? Who knows? I ain't got a clue. We head back to the ring now with some action between Pac and Matt Sydal, and Pac gets a nice win. I feel like Pac's very hot and cold. He gets one win, then he gets a loss, then he gets a win, then he gets a loss. This time he's got a win, and it's against Matt Sydal with the Brutalizer. Pac with a 70 and Matt Sydal with a 53. 69 rating overall. not bad. Let's hope it picks up a little bit from here. And we see Keith Lee backstage still nursing his calf injury. And just as he's kind of, like taping it up, kind of looking after himself, he sees a pair of boots stand in front of him. And he looks up, and Dustin Rhodes is back. We haven't seen Dustin Rhodes for quite some time, ever since Keith Lee turned on him. And Keith Lee just gingerly stands up, and they kind of have a bit of a stare down. And Dustin just shakes his head and walks off. And Keith Lee's kind of like a little bit pissed off, but also I think there is a slight, I shouldn't have done that to Dustin. He's a good guy. But at the end of the day, Keith Lee's in Bullet Club Gold, and who doesn't want to be in Bullet Club Gold? Am I right? 60 rated, fine. Yeah. And this is the final thing that happens on the show before our main event. This one's flown by. Darby Allin, Remy Sabai. Who you got? Let's go. 62. Oh. Bloody hell. That's not good, is it? Maybe Darby hasn't recovered from his concussion. But in a good match, Remy Sabai defeats Darby Allin in 20 minutes and 28 seconds with the Brainbuster. During the match, though, we had Sting distract Darby Allin. And I want to make it clear, Sting did not distract him to make him lose. Sting just wants to talk, and he figured he'd just come out and support Darby ringside, whereas Darby did not want that to happen, and Remy Sabai took advantage of that. 62 rating, not great. Let's move on. And obviously Darby is no longer the number one contender, or was he before? He kind of was. He has lost to Remy, so it will be Remy Sabai is the first person in that three-way with MJF. And Sting's just there, and he's like, oh no, I kind of ruined it for Darby. Sting gets into the ring to apologize, and Darby just loses his shit. He starts attacking Sting, gets a chair, batters him. Like, remember, Sting's like pretty old. He can still take a beating, but and Darby's just going crazy. Security has to come in. They kind of pull Darby back, and I think it's just come to boiling point now. Sting has kind of accidentally, you could say, cost him one too many times now, and I think he's had enough. So let's do the heel turn, and it was a complete success. Darby Allin is now heel, and he is not happy with Sting. That ends our show. I'm pretty disappointed with this show, and I assume it's gonna make us lose popularity. But post-show, we do have some post-show Twitter news, and it's official. For some reason, Dustin Rhodes has managed to get himself an AEW international title match against Jay White for the international title. I'm just saying shit now, aren't I? At Battle of the Belt. So it will be Jay White, Dustin Rhodes for the international title. So let's see how bad this show was. 68. Yeah, not great. Really disappointed about this main event. I generally thought that Remy Sabai would be a lot better than that. I know that Darby's not like 10 out of 10 in the ring, but yeah, oh well, we move on, I guess. 68, we've lost some popularity, but we did increase popularity in 31 regions, and those regions are the ones that we need to catch up on WWE with. I assume these 10 regions are USA, and I think 1 or 2 in the UK or Canada. But yeah, these are the ones we need to grow. But yeah, that's this show. I think this is probably our worst show, one of our worst. Maybe, we'll see. But we had a decent opener. The Punk bit was great. The context is great. If we just hide this, I still think it's a decent card. Either way, I'm rambling again. Next episode, though, is going to be a good one, I promise. We've got AEW Dynamite, AEW Collision, but sandwiched in between that, we have got our Battle of the Belts event, where we have a host of matches. Let me just see if I can remember them. So we have, I'll announce a couple as well here, why not? We've got MJF in a 3-way match against Remy Sabai and either Rey Fenix or Adam Page. We've got Jay White versus Dustin Rhodes for the international title. Christian Cage will be facing Jeff Cobb for the FTW World title after the loophole mishap. The TNT number 1 contenders battle royale will take place that night as well. The House of Black have their open house challenge for the trios world title. That's open to anyone on the roster. And also, breaking news, Kairi, who won the IWGP number 1 contenders battle royale, has said that she will be traveling to the US for her IWGP world title match at Battle of the Belts. So we will be getting Mercedes Moné versus Kairi for the IWGP Women's World Championship. I'm going to end it on that one because that's a kind of high after this shit show of a show. But yeah, thank you very much, guys. Thanks for getting this far in. We're going to keep pushing on, and we're never, ever going to be less than 70 again. I promise. If I am, I'll do some kind of forfeit. Who knows? But thank you very much, guys. Please like, comment, subscribe. Do it all. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye. Yeah.